Did you open a bank account shortly thereafter? Yes, I did. In what name and what bank? The Chemical Bank, New York Trust. And in what name? Nancy Stern. And did you thereafter open and establish various charge accounts in various department stores? Yes. In what name? Mrs. John Stern. Did you, before that, discuss that move by you with John Stern? Yes, I asked him if it was all right. What did he say? He said it was that I should open them up. Keep your voice up so we can hear you. He said I could open up the charge accounts if I wanted them. On and after January 13th, 1961, the date of John Stern's death in November 1962, did he continue to pay for each and every item of expense for the support of yourself and your two children, John being born subsequent to January 13th, 1961? Yes, he did. When was your son John Stern born? On the 12th of June, 1961. Who took you to the hospital on that occasion? John Stern. And was the child born in the hospital? Yes, he was. I would like to say he was a beautiful child. Never mind those comments. What was the name of the hospital? The Children's Division of the New York Hospital. By the way, what was the name of the hospital where you gave birth to Selma? The Madison Avenue Hospital. Did John remain with you while you were in labor at the hospital there? Yes, John was right in the labor room with me. He promised that he would be close by when the child was born. After the child was born, who took you home? John. Who was the father of the child? John Stern? My husband, John Stern, was. The decedent in this proceeding? Yes. In the summer of 1961, did you have a summer residence? Yes, we did. It was one of these low, rambling houses surrounded by woods. With whom did you have that residence? With John and the two children. Where was this residence, as you say, this low, rambling house, as you just described? In New London, Connecticut. And who secured this place for you? My husband, John, secured it for me. Nancy, did the decedent at any time prior to January 13th, 1961, direct letters or cards to you under the name of Mr. and Mrs. Nancy Stern, as is spelled on these cards? No, not that way. But following your marriage, did he uniformly write to you spelling the name as indicated on these cards? Yes, sir, it was always the same. You can see it for yourself. I show you a birthday card and ask you whether the written matter on the second part of the card is in the handwriting of the decedent. Yes, it is. And was that card delivered to you at your apartment with John? Yes, it was. What was the occasion of the delivery of that card? That was one of the children's birthdays, the first birthday. I show you a postcard and ask you whether the written matter or material which appears on the second page thereof is in the handwriting of the decedent in this case. Yes, it is. Was that card delivered and handed to you and to the children on the occasion of Easter? Yes. I show you another Easter card and ask you whether the writing which appears on the second page is in the handwriting of the decedent. Yes, it is. You will notice there are all kinds of markings on that card, but please ignore it as it was not there originally. Coming back to the summer residence that you and John and the children had at New London, did John live with you there? Yes, sir. He was a model husband and father, if you know what I mean. And did you continue to live as husband and wife following your marriage on January 13th, 1961? Yes, we lived as husband and wife. In the summer of 1962, did you also have a summer residence? Yes. Was that secured for you by your husband, John Stern? Yes. Who paid the rent for that accommodation? John did. When was the lease on the premises in New York, which you told us before, to expire? The end of October, I believe, somewhere in there. What year? In 1962, I believe. Was there any talk between the decedent and yourself relative to different or other accommodations than those which you had at the New York address? Yes, we talked about it. When, for the first time, was that discussed between you? You know, I am having difficulty remembering some of these dates, times, and places. Could I refresh my recollection from these slips of papers that I carry with me? No, I repeat, when was it first discussed? You are pressing me for dates and times again. I think it was possibly the summer of 1961. When, if anything, was something done about it? In the fall, we started looking for a larger place to live. Did the decedent accompany you on your visits to any of these other places? Yes, we looked at one house together and we both liked it, and I think John put in a bid for it. Do you know what house that was? I am not sure about that one. After that, we kept looking for houses, and I found one that I liked very much, and he went to look at it. He agreed with me that it was a very nice house, very attractive, beautifully landscaped, and he tried to buy that one. Can you tell us the name of the owner of that house? That was the house where the owner had an Oriental name, and for the life of me, I can't remember it. How's it?
That's pretty good.
That was on the dot 200. Former up here.
Actually, I didn't see right.
Want another one? Okay. Ready? Sir, would you give your full name for the court, please? My name is John R. Smith, Jr. Where do you work, Mr. Smith? At the 7th District Police Station. What is your rank? I am a detective. Were you employed there in January of 1975? Yes, sir, I was. On the evening of January 9th, 1975, did you have occasion to be in a rear alley in the area of the 2700 block of Queen Avenue? Yes, I did. Would you tell the court the circumstances surrounding your arrival at that particular alley? Yes, sir. On that particular evening, while I was in my office, I heard a call about checking an automobile that was in the rear of that block. Why was this automobile being checked? It was reported to have been stolen. I left the office and proceeded to that area. Was this day or night? This was in the evening, approximately 10 o'clock. What, if anything, did you do when you arrived there? I drove through the entire block and then turned into the alley. Did you see anything when you turned into the alley? There was an automobile parked in the rear of the car wash. I checked the tag number and it was identical with the tag number reported on the stolen automobile. After you checked the tag number, what did you do next? I left the car in the area and parked my car across the street. Then I radioed the dispatcher. What information did you give him? I gave him my location and asked him to send a plain automobile to park in the rear of the block where he could fully observe the automobile. What was the appearance of the automobile as far as you can recall? As far as I can recall, it was Chevrolet, four-door, black in color, and I don't recall the tag number offhand. I am going to hand you Government Exhibit 1 and 2 for identification. Can you identify those photographs? Yes, sir. How can you identify them? This is the vehicle. Well, this is the alleyway in the 2700 block of Queen Avenue. Is that all you can identify? Well, that is the vehicle that we set up in that particular night. Does this vehicle appear to be black in color or another color? It looks like another color. What was the color, sir, as far as you can recall? It wasn't black, but I cannot recall the color. Mr. Smith, tell us what you personally did, if anything. Well, I sat in the parking lot for approximately 10 minutes. I heard a call from the plain automobile saying that the subjects had just started the vehicle and were rolling. What did you do when you heard that? I then proceeded into the driveway next to the car wash right in front of the vehicle. Who was driving the car, if you know? It was Mr. Harris. Is there anyone in the courtroom today that you can identify as the driver of the car that evening on January 9th, 1975? Yes, sir, the defendant, Mr. Harris. Would you identify him by what he is wearing, sir? A multicolored shirt, and he is sitting at the defense table. Tell us, if anything, what you then did upon seeing the car driven into the alley by Mr. Harris. By the time I got into the driveway, there was another police car there. I pulled in behind it, put my car in park, and ran up to the vehicle. Was there a rider in that car? Yes, sir, it was a Mr. Parker. Who approached the driver, Mr. Harris? That was Officer Jones. What, if anything, did you do, sir, after you arrived at the passenger door of the car? I opened the passenger door and ordered Mr. Parker out of the vehicle. Was he then arrested, sir? Yes, sir. After his arrest and on the scene, did you have an opportunity to have a conversation? Yes, sir, I did. Where was the defendant at that time? At the time I had the conversation, we were in my office at the police station. The defendant was in another room. He wasn't in the same room with Mr. Parker? No, sir, he was not. Who was in the room with you and Mr. Parker? Just myself and Mr. Parker. In what room was the defendant? He sat in an adjoining office at the police station. Who was in the room with him? Officer Jones was there. You don't know what they were doing in there, do you? No, sir. You didn't hear what they were saying in there, did you? No, sir. Did you have an opportunity to look inside the car as you approached it? I just glanced inside. I didn't do a thorough search. Did you have an opportunity to look at the ignition itself? Yes, sir. What was the appearance of the ignition? It had been punched. When you say punched, what do you mean by that? It was pushed out completely. Where was it? Beg pardon. Where was it? Where was the ignition? Yes. I don't know how to describe it, but the outer part of the ignition was not there. Will you explain what you mean by that? The switch was there underneath the dashboard, but the portion of it that you put your key in was not there. Did you see anything else unusual on or about the car at that time? Just glancing. No, I did not. Did you personally search the car, sir? Yes, sir, I did. Did any other officer on the scene look through the car? I believe Officer Jones did. You stated, I believe, that you got the call about a possible stolen vehicle sometime around 10 o'clock. Is that right? Well, it was in the evening, sir. I don't remember the exact time. It was not as early as 9 o'clock, was it? It was dark outside. I was in the office doing paperwork, and I did not pay that much attention to the clock. About how far would you estimate you were in feet or yards when you parked across the street from the alley? About 50 yards. Were there other cars parked around the particular vehicle? There were other cars parked in the lot. Yes, sir. When you changed your location from where you parked, where did you go? To the front of the car wash. How close would that have brought you to the vehicle in question? Well, I was directly around the corner from the vehicle. Around the corner? Yes, sir. Could you see around the corner and see the vehicle there? No, sir.
Too fast.